That red one with the baseball card in it, that's Asian Ryan bought that one off that guy.
Oh, did he just?
Yeah.
Says it's off. Oh, it's power.
Yeah, it just powers. It takes it a while.
All right.
I'm Josh Kennedy. I play guitar in the Black Moods.
Nice. All right.
They're my songs. Where did I come from? Where did it all begin?
Yeah. Take me back. I mean, for
Okay,
someone who
well-
just doesn't know at all, viewer that's
Well,
Mill Avenue scene, Jim Blossom.
My dad was a drummer in a band, and him and my mom, were dating seniors out of high school, and that's back whenever you got married at 18 and you start. I mean, I say they still do that back there, but this is my mom's water broke with me at one of my dad's shows, and the line that my uncle always told me, he's like, "We'll play the jukebox for you, go have your kid or whatever." So that's kind of where it started, and I just remember being around music, and I just thought it was just the coolest thing. Hey, Al.
More rice, more beer.
Yeah. See, everybody knows how to do it around here. Just,
Spring beer. Huh?
yeah, it's so funny. You can tell the pros from the amateurs. The guys will walk in with a brown bag and like one big beer. Everybody else walks in with an 18-pack and a bag of ice. You can do your thing. You can just throw them bags in there. We're going to be here for a minute. So,
Yeah, fine. Thanks.
so what I was saying, my dad was in a band and my uncle together, and so I grew up. They were always practicing at the house, or I was always around it, and it was just the coolest thing. I just was hooked. And my mom never had to really worry about me on like certain gigs that I could go to when I was, there was like video of me when I was like 2 years old, and my uncle would let me stand on stage next to him, and I'd play a Scooby-Doo guitar, and eventually, and my mom, because my dad and those guys would play like 4-hour sets. That's what you did, you played, and that's what we used to do. Shit, we used to play 5 hours, 45-minute sets a night, and so whenever we went to the gigs that we could do, I would just stand on stage and only take a break whenever my dad and my uncle and the guys took a break. So my mom never had to worry about me. I was never like, all the other kids are running around crazy, pissing their parents off. I'd take a break, and my mom, I'd drink a pop or whatever it was, and I'd go back on stage with Dad and those guys.
This is all in Wheaton.
Yeah, around the four-state area. It's like they call it four-state area because it's Kansas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. So.
All right. So how the heck did you end up out here?
So then, fast forward, I was in a band with cats that I grew up. Like, Wheaton's only 600 people big, and so these guys lived across town, and we just had a band all through high school, and then I was a huge Jim Blossoms fan from being a kid and everything like that, and so. I found an ad for a recording school in the back of a Rolling Stone magazine, and my problem is because being around where we were from, there wasn't a lot of recording studios, and I started writing songs, and I just wanted to learn to record myself better, because these engineers and the studios we did go into, they just wanted you to pay the rate and get you in and get you out, and they're used to recording gospel. It was like Branson, Missouri is where we went. And they couldn't record a rock record to save their lives over there. And I couldn't understand, that's why I wanted to know how, like Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin and all these guys, and it's so funny I named the same producer produced both those guys, but or worked with both those guys. And so I started looking up this school, and I put my application in, and there was a waiting list, and because there's only like, I think it's 12 people, 10 people per class, something like that. And I got all this stuff together, and I sent it, and keep in mind I never left Joplin, Missouri was a huge city to me. And so we lived in Wheaton, Missouri from, when I was born until I was 19 when I moved to Phoenix. So it was like Beverly Hillbillies when I came here. I had it was just something different. And I'd never been on a plane, nothing. And so I got accepted to the school, but they're like, you can't start for a year and a half because the classes are filled. And I was like, no way, I'm gonna wait a year and a half. I need to go now. And so I got, as Roy Clark, my cousin was his music director. So I had him, get me a letter or something, anything to influence them to take me sooner. And so I remember I skipped work. I worked at a banking software company, and right out of high school. And I was in the print shop. It doesn't sound as smart as it was or whatever. But I stayed home that day, and I was sitting there with a buddy of mine, and I was just telling him how I was just, stifled, and I needed to get out, and I was ready to go. And he said, if that school calls you right now, you should pack your shit and you should go. And sure enough, man, within a half hour, the phone rang, and we looked at each other, because we were just sitting around, we were getting stoned. It was day off, or whatever. And I answered the phone, and it's a guy named John McJunkin that worked the internship department. And he said, hey, we had somebody bow out. Can you start tomorrow? And I explained to him, I'm 1,200 miles away. I got a full-time job. And he said, well, if you can be here. I said, I can't be there Tuesday. Let me call. And he's like, well, can you be here Thursday? So my parents got home from work because I was still living with them. And I told them that. And within 2 days, I'd quit my job. Grabbed my backpack and my Scooby-Doo blanket, my Animaniacs pillow, and I moved to Tempe, Arizona. And I remember they had to de-ice the plane. It was February, and we stopped off in Colorado, and I was scared to death. That was crazy. Me and my mom flew out, and then my dad and my uncle drove my car out with my stuff in it. And I've just been here ever since. And so
That was your first time on a plane?
that was my first time on a plane, and being to Phoenix, Arizona, and it was just huge. We were just so overwhelmed. I remember my mom telling me that after she dropped me off at school, that she just sat in the car and cried, because it was like, even for her, that she'd never been on, that was like her second time on an airplane. And but I started school 4 days late, and it's only, what is it, 10 cycles? And
It's 12 now.
yeah, 10 cycles, and how many weeks a cycle?
3.
Yeah, so 3 weeks a cycle, 10 cycles. And so when I started and I came into class late, people already hated me because of that. Yeah.
But you were going to school for
recording, and right off the bat, they tell you, if you're just here to learn to record your band better or whatever, don't bother, you come here to be an engineer. So they all knew, that they gave me a hard time at school. And now they're all the instructors are my friends and stuff, because I literally did just that. Went there to know what I wanted and how to get it out of, the recording studio. And
when was this? What year was it?
2001 or 2002, I think.
Okay.
But with that happening, it kind of coincides with, I was a huge Jim Blossoms fan. So the Jim Blossoms had broken up, and Robin Wilson was in another band called the Gas Giants. So him and the drummer, Phil Rhodes, went off and did this other band. And they were on tour, and they happened to come through Springfield, which is, an hour from my town. So I bought all the band tickets because I wanted us all to go, and our girlfriends at the time. And we all went to the show, and it was like the littlest club, and there wasn't a lot of people there, and I could tell he was not happy about it, Robin, the singer. And so we sat there, and because there was one guy in the crowd screaming all these Blossom songs, and he was there to play his new record, and you could just see the frustration. And so when we got done, when the show was over, I didn't get a set list or anything. I was so pissed, and I wanted to meet him. I thought, he's right there, and this is the guy that this band inspired me to be a songwriter, They were heavily a big influence. And so as we were leaving there, I'm walking down the sidewalk, and I'm kind of kicking rocks, and my girlfriend at the time was like, so what? And you got to see him. And then, so I looked, as we were walking down the sidewalk, I look inside, and he's got his leg kicked back, and he's smoking a cigarette, and it's this glass door. And I just said, I've got to say something to this guy. And I threw the door open, and I said, Robin, my name is Josh Kennedy. I'm a huge fan. I'm sorry to bother you. I just had to say that. And he kind of was like, "Ah, God, you know, he's like, he said something smart. I was like, you can never just get by yourself. You could tell that he was aggravated. But I had a cute girl with me, so he was very okay to come out and talk to us. And so we sat there and bullshit for a while. And then the other guys in my band saw that he came out and talked to me. So they came running back. And we sat there and talked. And eventually we were like, do you want to go get stoned in our band van? And he said, absolutely. So we had this old piece of shit van. And we're all sitting in there. And he's, you know, telling us the struggles. And we're asking about other bands. And, you know, he tells us to go do anything else but be in the music business. That's pretty much it. And we gave him our demo tape, which I'm sure he immediately threw out on the sidewalk after you left. But he did say, he's like, because I walked him back to the bus, or the RV they were in. He's like, if you're ever in Tempe, Arizona, look me up. He's like, I've got a studio over there. So I just remembered that, you know. And when I found that ad in the back of the concert, or the back of the Rolling Stone, it was in Tempe, Arizona. So it was just kind of all, you know, kind of played into each other. And then after I moved here, I went to Long Wong's, which is on Mill Avenue, you know, the staple, and he was playing an acoustic set. And so I went in there and I was like, holy shit, he's right there, you know. And he was like, I reintroduced myself, and he said, stick around after the show and we'll exchange numbers and you can come by my studio. So my just boom, you know, my head explodes. Well, Saracena, who ran Long Wong's, knew I wasn't 21, so she threw my ass out. So we were sitting outside for the longest time, and then we left. We had to leave, and so the school goes by. It was like I said, it was like 10 months. February to August is when I was supposed to move to go to Nashville, because I already flown to Nashville, found an apartment, all this the studios I wanted to go and intern at. And the last day of school, before I got there, my buddies were calling me saying that there's a note on the bulletin board that said they think it's for me. They didn't have my name on it, but they're like, there's a note that says it's signed by Robin and it's got a phone number on it, and it says Mayberry Studios. And so I called my dad first, and I said, I think, because they knew how big of a Jim Blossoms fan I was. So I thought all my buddies were fucking with me at school. And so I'm like, there's this number, and he's like, call it, who gives a shit? And the flyer, my mom still has it at her house, I think, and it said, wanted conservatory student from Missouri, smoky van required, because I got him stoned in the van, right? And so when I called it, he was like, hey, you know, and how I found out it was really him is because he wrote the lyrics out in New Musical Experience. What up, guys?
What's going on, girls?
How are you?
Living the dream.
He wrote the lyrics out for what?
So yeah, he wrote the lyrics out for New Miserable Experience on the inside of the album, and so I took the letter and I compared it with the lyrics, and I knew I did some forensics. You know, I'm into forensic files, and I called him, and he had me come down. He's like, I've been looking for you for months. So I didn't go to Nashville, and I wound up working with those guys, and they took me out on the road. And I'd said I was going to play guitar for the Jim Blossoms ever since I was 13. That was my whole goal. I just had the band I was in until I met with the Jim Blossoms. And sure as shit, on my 21st birthday, I was guitar teching for them. And I went to hand Scotty, the lead guitar players, because you do the guitar swaps at the end of the night or whatever for certain songs. And he wouldn't take the guitar. And I said, you know, hurry up. And he's like, happy birthday, buddy. And I looked at all the Blossoms like, happy birthday. And I got to play I Need to Know with the Jim Blossoms on my 21st birthday. So then so him telling me to go do anything but be in the music business, I'm glad I didn't listen to him, you know. Which brings us here.
Right. That's awesome, though. That's a whole story.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's weird to think about.
So, but then you just stayed.
Yeah, I didn't go to Nashville, stayed here, and then that's when I met Chico. So I stayed here, and I answered it. I went to Guitar Center, so I was like, since I'm not going to Nashville and I'm going to stay in town, I might as well play music, you know. So I went to Guitar Center, and there was a flyer up with the little tally, you know, phone numbers you tear off. And so I answered an ad, and I joined a local band around here just so I could get to know some people. And my goal was to steal that drummer and put in my band with my buddies that I grew up with that had also moved out here. And it worked for a while, but the drummer was great, but he just didn't see the same vision that I did or that we did. And so he quit, but he was like, I know this guy named Chico, and he's looking for a gig. And so this little short Mexican guy shows up in this little white VW, whatever it was, and I came out and I gave him a CD of some demos, and then and I don't even know where I was at the time. But he showed up. I know I was hungover because he gets in. I'm like, oh shit, is this guy gonna stick around? I just want to go back to bed. And he just walked up and I gave him the CD and he leaves, and we were off and running and started playing gigs. He was terrible at his audition, by the way. It was just awful.